It's a pleasure to be a part of this discussion today. So when we talk about customer experience, it's a truly universal language that resonates across all industries. While the specifics may vary, the core principles remain rock solid. So CX, especially when it is driven by digital transformation, is built on essentials like personalization, seamless omnichannel journeys, self-service, real-time engagement, and effective feedback loops, and so many. And you can say these are some of the most trending topics when it comes to CX in the recent times. But beyond these trends, a fundamental shift is happening, and that is brands are moving from transactional strategies to genuine customer engagement. It's now about, all creating meaningful conversations and relationship building, creating authentic experiences that go beyond mere sales. For example, let me share a personal experience that I had with an online salon service. So after a disappointing service, I rated them low, and to my surprise, I received a call almost instantly after I gave them the ratings from their contact center, and they genuinely want to understand my concerns, which was incredibly refreshing for me, and it made me feel valued as a customer. Not only after that they, did process my refund, but they also offered it as points for future services, which I could redeem. And instead of just returning it to my bank account, I think, this strategy or this approach, it clearly communicated with a customer retention strategy, but it also showed that they genuinely listened to my feedback by letting me rate my experience, and they following it up with a personal call, and they turned my negative perception into a positive one. So what this also shows is their commitment to customer satisfaction. It shows that true customer experience excellence is about understanding customer needs, building connections, and driving loyalty through proactive engagement. So that's the point I wanted to highlight here: proactive engagement. And also, the other famous brands like Starbucks, Sephora, Marriott, Amazon, and Netflix, and there's so many out there across different industries which are setting a benchmark in CX across their respective industries. I think they stand out not only for leveraging advanced technologies or adopting new trends like hyper personalization and so many others, but also because they are placing customers at the heart of their strategies.
There was a lot to capture actually. So what you're saying, Shruti, is there is a very strong emphasis on genuine engagement, long-term relationship building over just driving customer satisfaction. And eventually it's just going to be more about building trust. I was curious and I wanted to understand this from you as well. I don't know if you've noticed a couple of things. And I'll take an example that is personal to me, from an industry perspective. For a very long time, this whole space was more of a value-added spend and not so much of an essential spend. And we are seeing that is changing, and you can notice that there's a changing focus on industrialization or industry-centric approach to solve for or manage the holistic experiences. So if you look at the whole industry, the way it is evolving, this is very evident if you take an example of top CX software companies, top CX players. You see evolving industry-centric players that are now coming up. Or if you look at even the technology service providers like us, they're all working towards an industry-centric approach. So that was one thing that I noticed, building upon what you said. Second thing, and I think what is also becoming important as we think about customer experience, and we may be in early days, just getting started, it is to ask the question, who is the customer in customer experience? And that's a very important question to ask, because what you're saying is, if you see the evolution of how the space has gone, it has gone from earlier it used to be called customer service, which was more reactive. to what we call as customer experience, which is more about empowering the customers, giving them, channels to interact with. Then we started talking about digital customer experience, which was more about consistency and experience across all the channels. And I think now there's a need to coin a new term, maybe experience management, which talks about taking a holistic perspective when solving a problem. One other thing that I also noticed, and I'll get your views on all these, is as Ishita spoke about the net zero movement, when it comes to that transition and the SDG goals associated with it, historically or even more recently, they were largely associated with utilities or the companies by themselves. What we are noticing is we now see the consumer is showing the initiative. In some cases, they are pushing the utilities to act decisively on the net zero transition. And I think that will create a major shift in terms of the whole experience management space. Net, the way you're emphasizing, I think CX is going to be more important than ever.
Absolutely, Amol. So also, when we talk about CX, obviously it's all about how customers feel and perceive a brand. It's like you can put it across it like as the ultimate relationship scorecard. So, for example, now let's look at the contact center scenario in detail. What we see is that we are transitioning from basic customer service to a comprehensive CX approach, which is powered by AI, journey management, and other tools that enhance every interaction across all channels and touch points. And also, when we talk about CX, I think let's not forget about employee experience, because happy employees mean happy customers, right? So when the team is engaged and motivated, I think the good vibes, they show up in every interaction the agents have with their customers. And to deliver exceptional CX, it's just not about service anymore, that like I just mentioned. I think we also need well-trained frontline agents who can handle anything, thrown their way. Sure, they have these necessary technologies like AI and solutions like CRM at their fingertips, but it all also comes down to how well leaders coach them through, such complex query handling times. And I think it's a mix of, all technology, process, and right mindset that creates a truly customer-centric culture, I believe. And, at QKS, when we talk with these technology vendors and end users, we notice that they are stepping up their game by adding workforce engagement and optimization capabilities, and also launching voice of employee programs to have this holistic approach. And I think these initiatives, like managing agent coaching, assessment, and support, while using elements like gamification to boost employee morale, are really significant. I think this holistic approach really emphasizes the importance of both, I think, CX and EX that the vendors and the end users are taking. And I think we are also seeing most CX tech vendors embracing this strategy to help brands achieve technology excellence. At QKS, we call this as the vision of achieving CX excellence. So if I have to put it across more clearly, I will say that in today's competitive landscape, delivering a great CX is a clear differentiator for brands. But I think the future lies in taking a unified approach, which means managing all the key components like communication, channel, agent workforce, technology infrastructure, self-service options, security, and quality of interactions to ensure a seamless customer experience.
I think maybe the real term that we were looking for was CX excellence. I think that's the term we should be using, and I like that term. But I think in a very subtle way, you describe three very important things. One is the way customer experience has evolved merely from customer service to a more unified or a comprehensive approach, which includes consumer, employee, but I think you suggested two more things. One is leadership experience, and then the partner, or as we call it, as trade ally experience as well. So that was one interesting thing that I noticed. Uh, Second was, I think you're suggesting that to drive this whole comprehensive or holistic approach, which then creates engagement centric solutions, which could be in the form of intersection of technologies like these CCaaS solutions or contact center solutions, CRM, AI. They're not just crucial, but I think they will eventually end up being game changers. One other thing, and I thought this was the most important one that you spoke about, was ultimately it is about building loyalty, uh, building competitive edge led by CX, which ends up boosting revenues. And if we put that into perspective, those are essentially the central pillars of business. Now, again, a very industry centric example, if you look closely, energy transition has fundamentally shaken the industry. It has put the whole energy utilities industry at a crossroads, wherein how you react to it will fundamentally determine their existence. And I want to give a little bit of pretext to it. For people who don't know what utilities consist of electric, water, and gas companies. Now they also include renewable energy companies and electric vehicle companies because there is an overlap in how they interact with the utility eventually. And now what I'm saying applies largely to electric and gas companies, not so much to water utilities, because water is sort of recyclable, reusable, and it isn't a market which anybody can or everybody can enter. If you put that into perspective, let's take an example. You will see that the whole renewable energy play is open to all. The whole electric vehicle play is open to all. And if you put both of them together, what is called as the prosumer play, which Shruti, it's like you and I could put rooftop solar and start generating energy. That is open to all. Now, some of these plays have a relatively or a significantly low barriers to entry. The case in point then is, where will the utilities go? And in that situation, I think managing experience is going to be very important. And I think that's a cross reference that I'm drawing from what you just described. One other thing, and this is an anecdote that I just wanted to call out, is similar thing is happening. So it's not just energy transition which is disrupting this industry. If you look at tech players like Tesla, Apple, and some of these hyperscalers, which are like AWS, Azure, and then you look at some of these oil and gas players or energy companies like Aramco, Total, Exxon, Shell, they've all made big moves to get to take over a big pie of this energy transition. And I don't know if you read this, and this was just last night, I heard a news wherein hyperscalers are actually finding a way to run all their data centers on either renewable energy or nuclear in pursuit of their net zero goals. So that was a big news for me because data centers are energy intensive. Another example, Aramco Digital, and I learned this when I was having a discussion with a person from oil and gas, is there's something called as Aramco Digital, which is Aramco spinning off their entity. And this is happening with other oil and gas players as well, wherein either directly or indirectly, one way or the other, they've announced that they are going to be a big part of anything that involves energy, because energy transition is going to fundamentally affect their business as well. So their business is also at risk. So if that's the deal, how do you survive this fundamental shift in the business? And I had to give this pretext to make a very pertinent point when you spoke about the pillars of businesses. If the business existence is at stake, then what will be your differentiator and how you evolve to maintain relevance? And in that case, if you put into perspective, this whole managing the experience is no longer just going to be a novelty, but it will be a core differentiator and a driver for growth. So now when we are talking about managing the experience, it is very important to understand how this whole problem has evolved before the companies start taking a shot at solving the problem or addressing the whole CX opportunity. And then understanding it from a business perspective and how these strategies impact overall business performance and growth then becomes central to this conversation. I know it was a slightly longer uh, perspective on what you just described, but I had to call that.
No, but I think great example, Samul. I think I could relate to that, and especially when you spoke about the utility sector, which I'm not really too much familiar with. But yes, also when you just mentioned about opportunities, I think we right now we are witnessing a huge CX opportunity. Both from technology vendors and end users perspective across all industries, for that matter, and CX and market technologies are aligning towards a common goal here to enhance customer experience through communication excellence across the entire journey, from and that is right from the awareness stage to the loyalty stage, and the journey, because it offers a lot of opportunities for personalized targeting, proactive engagement to the brands. And to seize these opportunities, I think companies need to leverage comprehensive customer profiles and interaction histories using tools like customer data platforms and CRM. And I think by gaining deeper insights into customer behavior across all channels, brands can totally transform their CX and foster long-lasting loyalty as well. There's another point that I want to highlight is the strategic partnerships happening within the CX ecosystem. And so, I'll talk about the most important prediction, I think, since 2022, which has been, CRM vendors, would they swallow up the contact center as service market? And, however, I think we are seeing it now, or I think we are witnessing a lot of numerous partnerships happening in this context. And the recent collaboration between the Salesforce and Genesis, they have recently taken their partnership to a new level with the launch of their integrated solution called CX Cloud. And it aims to unify customer experience management by combining CCaaS, that's contact center as service capabilities, with CRM capabilities. So the CX cloud integration, I think signifies a major shift towards unified customer management. And I think by aligning CCaaS and CRM data, it also, would enhance the efficiency and effectiveness of managing customer interactions. Another notable partnership in this context is between AWS and Salesforce. I think that also represents a forward-thinking approach in CX that we need at the moment. And looking ahead, the future of contact center landscape, if I have to say, is typically characterized by these increased integrations with the broader CX technologies in this space. And I think this trend fosters co-innovation, strategic partnerships among CX vendors to deliver more comprehensive solutions. Also, when we talk about personalization or personalized journey, we should also know the fact that they are driven by technologies like CRM, customer data platform, journey orchestration tools, or voice of customer tools. And it's just not about another example, if I could take, for voice of customer tools or journey mapping tools. It's just not about collecting customer feedback or mapping out the journeys. I think the real magic happens when brands take action on that data. So when we talk about unified CX or CX cloud, these technologies or tools are there to create a smooth and a very seamless experience across all channels with a very unified approach.
I mean, I did hear about the whole conversation where it was said that CRM players will absorb the CCaaS players. At that point, I found it very, very, I had a good laugh around it. But I think you spoke about something interesting, Genesis and Salesforce. I did not know about their partnership. And the AWS plus Salesforce, this one sounds very, very promising, especially in the context of what you just described of the integrated play. And when we are talking about fundamentally acting on the insights, I think that becomes a very promising play. One other thing I heard you spoke about was, I think, employee experience, and coming from an intersection of what we call as CCaaS or contact center players and CRM, and now add to that customer data platforms. And we are hearing the need for customer data platforms, at least in our industry, more often than not. I think this is going to be the real evolution of how companies eventually evolve from a systemic thinking, right, wherein they go from what we used to historically call as system of records to now where we are, that people are talking about with employee experience, systems of engagement, and then with the insights conversation that you spoke about, eventually they will evolve to being systems of intelligence in future. So I think when we think of a need for a unified customer engagement platform, I think it's real now versus having a best in breed approach. And I think the need of our is a unified engagement platform with what you're describing is AI first, cloud first, but the one that brings out important insights which the companies need to act on in either near real time, the next day, or from a near term perspective. I think those are the need of the hours. And I think we've spoken about AI, but I think we haven't addressed the hottest topic yet, and maybe the elephant in the room, which is Gen AI.
Yes, it's like the cool kid on board, Yes, obviously we have to talk about Gen AI, and I think many vendors are hopping on leveraging the Gen AI trend, and also I think our recent Spark research, at Quadrant also revealed that I think the biggest investments, especially in the CX and MarTech side of in terms of Gen AI, are primarily focused on two areas. I think one is personalized customer support, and second is chatbots, virtual assistants. I think these tools enhance. Obviously, we know that they enhance customer interactions with real time. Suggestions and recommendations, also tailor responses and automate routine tasks. So obviously, we see a lot of investments there. And the other is also the proactive engagement, which is again another priority as, businesses seek to anticipate customer needs before even they arise, right? So while agent, assist and workflow automation are growing, I think most investments still target solutions that directly improve customer interactions. However, I think it's essential to remember that, genuine brand-specific data is crucial, as effective recommendations stem out of the accurate organizational data that's available.
I mean, I'm convinced with the entire potential of Gen AI, but I am known to have a contra view on Gen AI and its applicability in today's context, because the reliability and the consistency of it are yet to be proven, which are very important for any business. Second is, if you take a more industry-centric view, and there are these areas wherein, if you look at where this industry is today, there are established AI solutions and platforms which can solve a lot of problems or help them meet their targets in a far more reliable, safe, secure, and a consistent manner. That by no means says that Gen AI is not relevant, but I would say they are probably good to use in 20% of the areas, like you described, marketing automation from a journey orchestration perspective, CCaaS or contact center platforms from a call center summarization perspective, knowledge management perspective, conversational perspectives like voice bots. And then very recently, I heard a great point which was made by an investor or a large VC. And they said, while the core of AI is ready, its ecosystem is still to evolve to meet the expectations of what we have from the technologies like Gen AI. In fact, last year, when we were discussing this with a VC, they came up and they were talking about a MarTech startup which just went down as soon as ChatGPT was announced. They said at that time across the world, there were about 1,000 startups that were registered who are trying to build models or build on top of what Gen AI is. So looks like there are a lot of moonshot ideas in play, just going by the number that is out there.
Yes, Amol. I mean, several moonshot ideas are, revolutionizing customer experience. I think AI, I think, takes the lead role here, especially when it comes to hyper personalized experiences, while AR and VR immerse users in adventures like visualizing energy saving upgrades in your home and before decisions are made. And there's so many examples out there. So also predictive customer experience management also acts like a crystal ball, like resolving the issues before even they arise. And another is emotion recognition, that adjust the technologies, they can just adjust interactions based on the customer's mood in real time. Also, we are seeing voice commerce, making shopping as easy as, it's like chatting with friend, and community driven platforms, which are also transforming customers into passionate advocates. And you just highlighted with that example in utilities. So there's so much happening on that front. I think a lot of moonshot ideas are, bringing CX to another level altogether.
I mean, I'm a very close observer and participant in that ecosystem. And you're right, the voice and video commerce space is evolving very, very fast. And I see a lot of startups coming up across the world who have picked that up as a gap or a niche area. And I think they see the future of commerce in that space. And I think that fundamentally changes how customer experience is going to change. And then knowing that you spoke about moonshot ideas, there was something that I thought of years ago, and wherein I had a vision of a world where one would not need smart meters anymore to predict customer usage. And AI predictability of customer behavior will be a thing, and it will be so consistent that it will drive a lot of energy efficiency ideas. Again, it sounds like a rave idea, but it came to me a few years ago, and I think it might just be real. I think there's one more area, speaking about, because you spoke about energy efficiency. If you scale that idea, and if you talk about a term called smart energy communities, and these communities are planet first, and also a system where customers are no longer just passive players, but they're also active participants, which we called prosumers earlier. So they will become an active participant in the energy transition movement. So that is one change that will happen in these smart energy communities. But if you extend that idea a little further, I also imagine that these communities will not just be focused on themselves. They will also drive energy as a social currency to help the people who are actually in need, especially in parts of the world where energy poverty is still real. And in truest sense, that would be having the biggest strata of our global community getting ready to participate in this energy transition or the net zero movement. And I think that will basically take this net zero transition to its widest and deepest impact. It cannot happen without customer experience being at the center of it. Another idea, and I don't know how much of that you are hearing about it, is I've heard about digital twins for a very long time, and I think you would have heard about a lot of these use cases coming up in the asset intensive world, right? Like for manufacturing, and even for that matter on the distribution side of utilities. To my surprise, I haven't seen anybody play with the idea of digital twin for marketing and customer experience automation, wherein you could have and again I'm making up a term, which is a digital single, which could be a representative for a customer, and a digital twin which could be a representative for a group of customers, and how they react, how they respond could be used to test your products or to build new age solutions. And especially, I mean, if Web 3.0 becomes central, we all know that is just going to change how customer engage with each other in the virtual world. So that was my thought, but I think with that we have come to the end of our time.